SuperTalk Mississippi media production. Pike County, here comes your morning show. Dave in the morning on 93.5 FM, SuperTalk Mississippi.
So now, understand, you're not going to dictate to me what I do and what I don't do, but I'm still the mayor, Mr. Brown.
Bloody angle, the symmetry. Your cheap adhesive isn't holding me. My mouth is a gun I can shoot. I can show you the truth. No pun intended, no punishment. If I offended you, you needed it. Ideas are the bombs in your mind. A fisherman time. If you don't have a weapon, you can't have mine.
None of this meeting is recorded. None by any parties. Correct?
No, sir, mine is recorded. I'm being accused.
Any objection?
Said I want to make it on record. I want the allegations in writing, or the accused, or on recording of this harassment.
I'm not afraid. I'm getting into grievances again. I'm down to absolute zero. I'm not the devil, but I won't be your hero.
And now, here's your host, Dave Hughes.
Good morning, my fellow trash panda. How are you? This gets stupider and crazier and more ridiculous with every day that goes by. Holy cow! We're going to talk about that. Don't worry. We're also going to dip into a little Emily Post. If you don't remember who Emily Post is, well, you'll get re-educated. A lot of other stuff going on that we need to talk about. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday morning. The weather is certainly nice enough for I think anyone to count that as a wonderful Wednesday morning, no matter how garbage-like they are. And no, I'm not going to keep making those, stop making those references, because when someone gives you a gift, it's rude not to use it, isn't it? Yeah. But before we do anything else, want to talk about something that went out yesterday that, I have a personal connection to, a personal feeling about, and I want to make sure that we get this message out. Lottie Elaine Myers, 73 years old. She was last seen on Monday afternoon at 1:47 exactly. She was wearing faded blue jeans, knee-length shorts with a gray t-shirt. And the notice that was put out, as usual, had limited details because they protect people's privacy. It had the usual standard statement that we've always seen. She suffers from a health condition that may impair her judgment. Well, we got some additional information posted on Facebook by her stepdaughter. Her stepdaughter, Stacy Myers Lawson, posted and confirmed that she does suffer from definitely a debilitating disease, Alzheimer's. And here, let me paint the picture for you as she wrote it, because it kind of tells you what's going on here. She was last seen on foot in Franklin County on McCall Creek Road Her Jeep was found abandoned on the same road. And the search is on. All law enforcement, everybody is looking for Elaine. As well they should. Everybody should be keeping an eye out. Because when someone has a debilitating mental problem, not their fault, we still don't fully even understand how this happens, how this disease occurs, what brings it on. Just sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. You can't point to any one thing in someone's life and go, well, yeah, that if you hadn't done that, you wouldn't have that. No, it doesn't work that way. But when you're suffering from a problem like that, reality becomes very flexible. Let me explain what I mean by that. What you're seeing, where you're at, what you're doing may not appear to be that way to the person suffering from a disability like Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that. They get it in their head. It just comes in there. A memory will bubble up. And it may have been 20 years ago, but that's their current reality. Not going to speculate on what was going through her mind. We don't know. Saw some people online suggesting go check places she's familiar with. She may have headed off in that direction. Possibly. That's definitely a good piece of advice. But sometimes it's not that simple. A lot of times, yes, they are reliving a previous memory. As if it were real and happening right now. They relive that memory. And they react accordingly. The worst thought is that she comes out of it and doesn't know where she is. That's a horrible thought for anyone. That's why it is so important to keep your eye out, to look for her, to search for her. Law enforcement for several counties, Pike County Sheriff's Department is very much involved in this. Everybody is, as they should be. Got to find her, got to track her down. She was driving along, stopped, got out of her vehicle, and walked away. This is a horrible situation for her family, for her friends, for everybody. Heart most definitely goes out to them. But this, how many times have you and I had the conversation that you need to keep your head on a swivel? It's a safety thing. If you see what's coming before it starts coming, you can avoid it, right? So it's a safety technique for you and your family. Keep your head on a swivel. Always be looking. Always be scanning your surroundings. Well, we need to do that for Elaine. Same exact thing. You should always be scanning. You should always be looking. You should always be paying attention to your surroundings. But you need to layer into that as you look around at your surroundings. You see someone that looks out of place. You see a lady who appears to be slightly lost. Get involved. Let somebody know. Because it might very well be Lottie Elaine Myers. She's been missing since Monday. If you see her in Pike County, and don't for 1 second think that that's not possible. Oh, it is. But if you leave here and you go to Franklin County and you see her, immediately call law enforcement. If it's in Pike County, you can call them at 684-5142. You could just call 911 wherever you're at. Trust me, they all know what's going on. They are all aware of the situation with Lottie. So if you see her, if you see somebody that might be her, if you see somebody just looks like they're wandering along, not really sure about where they're at or what they're doing, or even they're just wandering along, they may look determined. They may look totally peaceful, like they're out for a nice stroll. But while in their mind they might be, in reality they're not. So keep your eyes open. This is definitely one of those cases. Law enforcement would rather have 5,000 false alarm calls than miss the one that would get Lottie back to her family. Nobody is going to get mad if you call and it turns out to not be her. Not a single soul. If they do get mad at you, let me know. They're not going to get mad. They're not going to be upset. You're not bothering anybody. You see somebody, she's 73 years old, does not look that old, by the way, from the pictures. She is nowhere close, so that might fool you a little bit. But she's 73. She's out there walking around. Last seen in blue jean shorts and a gray t-shirt. A white woman. Great smile. Looking at the pictures. If you see somebody, anybody, anywhere here in Southwest Mississippi that might be her, just wandering around, call. No one is going to be upset if it turns out to not be her. Nobody. Because we got to find Lottie. So please take that to heart and keep your eyes open today. And moving forward until Lottie is found. We would really, really like to be able to come back with an update and explain how she's been found. Everything's fine. That's the goal here. But it only happens with your help. So please watch out for Lottie, and we will keep you updated on that. Had to get that out. First thing out of the box on this Wednesday morning. We have other things to talk about, and we will get into some of those. Some good, some bad. When we come back on a Wednesday morning on SuperTalk, Mississippi, Pike County, 93.5. Keep it here.
Touching you, touching me, touching you, got to touch you. I believe in a thing called love, just to the chance we can make it now, when I look until the sun goes down. I believe in a thing called love.
Hey, Kristen from Selman's here, coming to you with Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the name of a square-cut gemstone or diamond? The answer, princess cut. This week's question is, which U.S. state mines fine gem-quality sapphires? Come see our collection of sapphires, September's birthstone. Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945. 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
Don't miss Dave in the morning, even when you miss it the first time. You can catch it on the podcast, missing out would be a crime. SuperTalk 93.5 is always the place to be. Wanna get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com, it's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon or Apple are just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have the break. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page.
North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on SuperTalk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of Macomb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com and through your Alexa devices.
There's too many men, too many people making too many problems, and there's not much love to go around. Can't you see this is a land of confusion? This is the world we live in, and these are the hands we're given. Use them and let's start trying.
Welcome back. Super Talk, Mississippi Pike County, 93.5. All right, where do we go here? Let's go ahead and deal with Papa Joe, the head of the trash department. I know Richard talked about this right at the end of the Gallo show. Did an excellent job, as he always does. Just a couple of things I want to layer in here, specifically from this morning regarding this. The comment, in case you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, during a video call, a conference call, trying to build up Latino support, trying to cash in on the controversy that came about because of Hinchcliffe's jokes, he said with air quotes around it, at the Madison Square Garden event, saying that there was a floating pile of garbage in the ocean. It's called Puerto Rico. That's what he said. You've seen the clips by now, or you may have watched it live, but that's what he said. That was one of his jokes. So the Democrats just started frothing at the mouth. They're like, oh, we got him now. We got him now. And started just running that into the ground. Then yesterday, as Kamala Harris was about to start her big closing argument, yeah, we know you're an attorney. You prosecuted, well, actually, as it turns out, right around maybe a bit less than 50 cases in your career. So, ooh, all the experience. But it was a closing argument. Okay, does that mean you're going to shut up now? Well, apparently, because now the opposite side gets to make their argument, because all anyone can talk about is, while she was about to start her closing argument, President Joe Biden was on that video call and called supporters of Donald Trump garbage. He was referencing the comments by Hinchcliffe and said, the only garbage I see are his supporters. Now, the White House is trying to claim there was an apostrophe in that word. Supporters, possessive. You know, the garbage being put out by his supporters. No. Sorry, you don't get to take that easy pass on this, and no one's buying it so far. Well, this morning, Tim Walz was on Good Morning America trying to deliver their message. Absolutely love that he said that Vice President Kamala Harris would deliver what, and this is a quote, what Americans are hungry for. A unifying president, one that wants to find solutions. Hungry for that because we haven't had it for 4 years, I guess. Is that what you're trying to say, Tim? Timmy boy? If everybody's hungry for it, they haven't had it in a while. They haven't had it in about 4 years. Yeah, he's right. But He said that, but of course he got asked about Biden's comments. His response to that was, when asked about President Biden, the sitting United States president, and I'm sorry, if you're going to compare a joke from a roast comedian, a shock comedian who says stupid stuff all the time for a living, if you're going to compare a guy who makes bad jokes making a bad joke with the sitting president of the United States with a little anger in his voice, saying that 80 million Americans are garbage, well, that's a case of apples and gold bars. One of those carries a lot more weight than the other. Well, when he was asked about the comments, Tim Walz this morning on Good Morning America said the president's clarified his remarks. And then moved on immediately and said, now let's be very clear. The vice president and I have made it absolutely clear that we want everyone part of this. That's not helping. That doesn't move the needle at all. The comparisons immediately came out last night, and rightfully so, going back to 2016, when Hillary Clinton was talking about Donald Trump's supporters in that election and said that half of them, and some people misremember that, she didn't say all of them. She said half of Trump supporters were in a basket of deplorables. Well, that became a rallying cry. Everyone started identifying themselves as a proud deplorable. There was merch. There were signs at campaign events. And everyone ran with it. Last night, about an hour, this is the speed the world works at now, about an hour after President Biden made that comment, I had 2 ads given to me on X, Twitter, selling Proud Garbage t-shirts. This piece of trash is voting Trump hats. This is very much. It has a chance to be the deplorables moment for this election. But let's drop back, and several people have made this observation, and I want to make it right here. I'm sorry, there is no way at this point, there's absolutely no way President Biden's not doing this on purpose. Come on. How many times has he cut her legs out from under her while she's trying to campaign? I think he's still a little miffed that they ran him off, that they pulled him off the ticket. And he's like, oh, I'll show you. I really think it's intentional. Now, I don't know if he's coming up with this or if Jill is coming up with this and tell him you need to do this. This will work. This will be good. So now, in her big triumphant moment, in her big grand finale, if you will, instead of trying to ride any momentum she generated from that yesterday, she is going to have to spend her time now putting out the garbage fire. At best, for her, it's a distraction. At worst, it's over. Because we saw how the deplorables comment went in the 2016 election. Notice in 2020, we didn't have that moment. 2016, we had the deplorables moment. You go back to other people who were candidates for president. Rhino and I talked about this last week, I think it was. And you can define the exact moment where everything fell apart for him. Howard Dean doing that weird shrieky scream, trying to show excitement. Everybody ran with that. It got memed to death, and he went away. Jeb Bush, in a speech while he was running for president, Jeb Bush in Florida, where he said something and nobody said a word, and he said, please clap. And that was it. We were done. These moments are real, and these moments can mean the difference between having a chance and losing. and just going away. This has, right now, and we're only 12 hours removed from President Biden making those comments, a little over 12 hours, about 14 hours. This has the flavor of those kind of events, those kinds of mistakes. I still have to wonder if this was a mistake, though. I really do. Because how many times can he good-naturedly make a goof that always seems to undermine her, to make her look worse, or to steal her thunder during a big moment? You remember, it wasn't that long ago. She was doing a big address, a big speech, a big deal. One of the interviews, I think, that she did, well, interviews, again, we'll use the air quotes. And President Biden, just for the first time in his entire presidency, wandered into the briefing room at the White House and talked to reporters. First time in his entire presidency. So everybody immediately cut away from Kamala to go see what Biden was going to say. He keeps doing this. It's absolutely hysterical. But it's possible this could be that kind of moment. The one difference between this and those other examples, up to and including Hillary Clinton, it was the candidate themselves that messed up before. This time, it's not the candidate. I mean, she's done plenty on her own. This time, it was the sitting president. But this is a complicated situation. If you had to list the Democratic Party's relationship status on Facebook, you would have to choose it's complicated. And now they're trying to figure out what to do about it, and they don't know. They don't have a clue. They've tried. They sent out a couple of things. I think it's probably a safe bet they're going to try to pretend that didn't happen and move on. Kind of like what Walls did this morning on Good Morning America. The president's clarified his comments. We want everybody at the table with us. Even the garbage, Tim? See, this is what a comment that simple, that easy to understand. You don't have to have any arcane political knowledge to understand that somebody just called you a piece of trash. That's very straightforward. It's very clear. That's the kind of thing that sticks. That's the kind of thing that gets an emotional reaction out of people. And if you say something or do something that gets an emotional reaction out of people, they don't drop it. Don't go, oh, wow, that's not a big deal. No, it sticks. I am very interested to see how this moves forward. Vice President Harris issued a thing this morning. Thanks, Chris. Commenting, she's now doing garbage control. She responded to the garbage remark. Her quote, and I'm sorry, I'm reading this with a political eye, and this really looks like there's a lot of strife inside the party between Harris and Biden still. She came out. She was on the tarmac, headed off for another campaign event. Reporters caught up to her. Of course they were going to ask her about this. Of course. They had to. Her response was, quote, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not, she added. This is where she gets into trouble. On the face of it, that's a great way to deal with it. If you haven't spent the last 3 months telling anybody who would stop to listen that people who would support the fascist reincarnation of Adolf Hitler are stupid, this might carry a little more weight. It has been every day. You have been talked down to. You have been screeched at. You have been nagged. If I never see another please give me a couple of dollars ad from the Harris campaign, it will be truly a gift in my life. I am so sick of that. You don't get to come out. First of all, he clarified his comments. When has Joe Biden ever clarified a comment? You can go back 50 years. He's had a reputation as a gaffe machine at best. So that part in and of itself, hysterical. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. Okay, say some nice things about diehard Republicans who are voting for Trump. Let's hear it. Let's hear some bragging. Let's hear how much you dearly love them, even though you disagree in principle with the decision that they've made. Let's hear that, because we haven't heard that this entire time. That has not been the rhetoric. That has not been the slant that has been used. What I'm saying is, once again, trying to back out of the, to use a term, garbage heap President Biden dumped her in last night. She's lying again. She's flip-flopping. It doesn't come off as authentic. It does not ring true, and it does not move the needle in this conversation. I'm sorry. You may never see that cat again. It's already well and fully out of the bag. Everyone is going to latch on, and they have. I was a little surprised by this. We talk all the time about mainstream media being in the tank for the Democratic cause. I don't feel uncomfortable saying that. I've been paying attention. Even last night, into early this morning, around midnight, 1 o'clock, and then definitely this morning when everybody got back to the office, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox, the Associated Press, everyone has an above-the-fold story about the firestorm created by Biden's comment about Trump supporters being garbage. All of them. Normally, and even in recent history, they would have just not mentioned it. Or it would have been, one little mention at the bottom of a story. Not a story in and of itself. An entire 500 to 800 word story focused on the fact that President Biden said Trump supporters are garbage. They all are running with it today. And if the people that are on your side that have been carrying the water for you and your campaign and your cause all this time take that and throw it right out in front of everybody and focus on it, you have a problem. And that problem will not be solved with a quick hypocritical comment on a tarmac as you're getting on your jet plane to fly across the country and tell people we need to be worried about climate change. It's just not going to swing like that. I really want a Trash Panda t-shirt now, by the way, because it's just perfect. I never had one. Had a lot of people that I knew that had deplorable bumper stickers and koozies and hats and t-shirts, possibly underwear. I didn't check because I really think the garbage thing is going to catch legs and you're going to see the same thing. I just don't know if there's enough time to ship it to everybody because I don't remember this big of a goof happening this close to an election. We're under a week. We got 6 days before everybody goes to cast their ballots. So, might not have enough time to get the merch in full swing. There's a lot of people going to do everything they can to make it happen, though, and why wouldn't they? It's pretty good. You gotta love it when the opposition goofs up and you can't even tell if it was a mistake or they just don't like their own side. Now, I mentioned at the beginning Emily Post. If you don't know who Emily Post is, Emily Post, way back at the turn of last century, became a big deal. She wrote the Guide to Etiquette, what you're supposed to do in certain situations. One of the things that she was very big on was thank you notes. Specifically, and I'm quoting here, specifically, a thank you note is an appropriate way, I'm reading from Emily Post. Thank you notes are an appropriate way to express gratitude to a friend, loved one, or colleague for any sort of gift or act of kindness. Right now, somewhere on Trump Force One, I like to imagine Donald Trump has a pen and some really nice stationery with his name at the top from the office of. It's that thick, creamy paper, you know, that good stuff. That stuff, when you pick it up, you can just feel how nice it is. Got that big ballpoint pen. And he's composing a thank you note to President Biden. Dear Sleepy Joe, gotta say, haven't been given a gift like you calling my supporters garbage in quite some time. It really made a difference. Stop by McDonald's. Your next ice cream's on me. Sincerely, Donald J. Trump. I hope he's doing that because Emily Post would smile on that because this was a gift. Supposed to write a thank you note for a gift, any sort of gift or act of kindness. I think this definitely falls under the gift category. Trump needs to write him a thank you note. And then down at the bottom right, CC Kooky Kamala Harris. And then lick the envelope and hand it off to a subordinate. 6 days before the polls open. And the sitting president of the United States calls the opposition party's candidates' supporters garbage. He might need 2 thank you notes and possibly some sort of assortment. I would suggest nuts. What? It's appropriate. We will continue on this Wednesday morning after this. Keep it here.
Feeling neglected, used and rejected. You need a shoulder to lean upon. Maybe your victim found your next victim. Don't worry, someone will come along.
Hey, Kristen from Selman's here, coming to you with Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the name of a square-cut gemstone or diamond? The answer, princess cut. This week's question is, which U.S. state mines fine gem-quality sapphires? Come see our collection of sapphires, September's birthstone. Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945. 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
Don't miss Dave in the morning. Even when you miss it the first time, you can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. Super Talk 93.5 is always the place to be. Want to get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalk.PikeCounty.com. It's all around, it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have the crave. SuperTalk.PikeCounty.com.
Weekday mornings at 6 after 9 on 93.5 FM, or you can catch up anytime by going to
Super SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Dave in the morning at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. Catch up and catch on. North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on SuperTalk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of Macomb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com and through your Alexa devices. Catch you again, Super Talk, Mississippi, Pike County, 93.5. Wednesday morning, halfway through the week. Tomorrow, little ghoulies and goblins and gremlins going to be running around. I don't know if you heard this story. I didn't catch if anyone's talked about this yet. Des Moines, Iowa. And this shows you just how changeable things are that everybody thinks is just not changeable at all. No, you can't mess with that. Des Moines, Iowa in 1938, held their normal Halloween, and then a recreation director with the city said, we could cut down on some of the hooliganism. There's a 1938 word, but that's exactly the one he used. We could cut down on some of the hooliganism, I think, if we took Halloween and didn't hold it on Halloween. So Des Moines started their own tradition. Kids in Des Moines don't go trick-or-treating. They go out for what they call Beggar's Night. They started that in 1939, and it has been that way ever since. The night before Halloween, October 30th, the kids go out and go door to door. And it's very much not trick-or-treating because included in the name, trick or treat, give me a treat or you'll get a trick. Right? Now, Beggar's Night, the tradition they started was, when the kids came to the door and they knocked or they rang the bell and you opened the door, they would do some kind of entertainment, sing you a little song, recite you a poem, do a little dance, whatever, to get a treat. Well, over time, that kind of morphed a little bit, and it became tell you a good joke. So, for almost 100 years in Des Moines, Iowa, just Des Moines, Iowa, as nearly as I can tell, nobody trick-or-treats on Halloween night. The night before Halloween, they go around and tell bad jokes and try to get Snickers. Beggar's Night, it was called. For the first time since 1939, they're not doing it tonight. They're still doing Beggar's Night, but they're having to do it tomorrow night because they have severe weather in the forecast for tonight, and they don't want the kids out trying to go around, knock on the door, shivering, telling jokes to try to get free candy. So they put it off a day. Weather is supposed to be better tomorrow. First time, as far as anyone can tell, since 1939, that there will be kids out trying to get treats on Halloween night in Des Moines, Iowa. I loved one comment from a lady as the press got a hold of this story and started talking about it. Talked to her and she said, I'm going to be honest, there's nothing strange about it. It's always been this way here. And it has, 1938. That's a healthy minute. You got to be, 85, 86 to have even been born in Des Moines, Iowa, the last time they did regular old trick-or-treating on Halloween night. It's not done. And that was her point. It's not done. This is normal to us. This is the way it's always been our entire lives. We don't do trick-or-treating. We go out for Beggar's Night on the 30th every year. Now, I want you to stop for just a moment. I want you to use this as a lens to look at other things in our life that we think are inviolable, cannot be changed. This is the way it is. Always has been, always will be. It's this way because it's always been this way until you change it. And you have the backbone, you have, to use the sports term, the intestinal fortitude, once you change it, to not change it back for a while. And it doesn't take very long at all. I guarantee you within 10 years of making that change, by the time they hit 1950, nobody thought about trick-or-treating on Halloween night anymore in Des Moines, Iowa. It does not take a long time to change behavior, to change long-standing traditions, and we don't use that mechanism enough. In life in general, in politics and governance, whatever, Des Moines, Iowa is a shining example of how just because things have always been this way and they're this way for everybody else everywhere else doesn't mean they have to stay that way here. What's amazing is it was so normal to them, they don't talk about it because it's just the way things happen every year. So nobody had really caught on to this story. Nobody had talked about this until this year. Des Moines, Iowa does not do trick-or-treating. And even this year, when they've had to move it for the first time ever because of forecast bad weather tonight, severe thunderstorms, rain, the whole 9 yards, they moved it to Halloween night, tomorrow night, for the first time since 1939. They're still not trick-or-treating. They're still going out for Beggar's night, just one night late. We need to stop treating everything as set in stone. We need to stop looking at all of the traditions, all of the activities, all of the ways we do things, all of the ways we approach and think about our problems. We need to stop just doing what we've always done because that's the way it's always been done. If the way it's always been done was so good, you wouldn't be looking at, how to fix the problems, would you? This applies to this rule of thumb to me applies to everything. I don't care if you're talking about budgeting. I don't care if you're talking about anything. We need to put more of that spirit into things because before you know it, you apply a change. It can be a drastic change. It can be a subtle change. It's kind of a mixture of the two, really. They kept the tradition of kids going door to door to get candy. They renamed it, they moved it to a different date, and they changed the way it worked. But at its heart, kids coming home with a bag full of candy that other people gave them is still there. Everything else about it they changed. I mean, they're dressing up when they go out. But everything else is different. It's not Halloween, it's Beggar's night. There are no tricks. There are bad jokes. I think that's a great change, by the way. You can change things, even in your personal life. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard once you've held on for a few years. Right at first, yeah, you get some pushback. You get some blowback. But if you hold on for just a little while before you know it, that becomes the new norm. Now, the problem is that can work towards evil as well. If somebody, let's just pick an example at random, gets elected into office and screws up the world, and then you let them keep doing it for, another length of time, another 4 years, let's say, before you know it, that becomes the new norm, and nobody thinks it's out of the ordinary at all, that everything's all messed up. That's just the way it is. Change is good. Just saying. Just thought that was an interesting lesson there. I do want to send out condolences. Man, I hated to hear this. Charvarius Ward, I don't know if you heard about this. 49ers cornerback, former Macomb Tiger, Macomb guy. Great guy. His 1-year-old daughter passed away Monday morning. Now, she had some health problems. She had surgery already. She She, I believe, had Down syndrome. She was about to turn 2 in November. She passed away. Man, you hate to hear this. You hate to hear these kinds of stories. Just punch you right in the heart. But it was ridiculously over-the-top obvious to anyone who paid any attention whatsoever that Charvarius loved that little girl. Oh, boy, did he love that little girl. So your heart has to go out to both him and the little girl. Her name was Amani Joy, Amani's mother. Just heartbreaking. Hate to hear these kind of stories, but you know what? We will overcome. We will move past. You know why? Because that's what good people do.
If you cry,
It's not easy. It hurts. Oh, it hurts. But that's what you do. Final thoughts after one final break on the final Wednesday before the election on SuperTalk, Mississippi, Pike County, 93.5.
Kristen from Selman's here, coming to you with Trivia of the Week. Last week's question was, what is the name of a square-cut gemstone or diamond? The answer, princess cut. This week's question is, which U.S. state mines fine gem-quality sapphires? Come see our collection of sapphires, September's birthstone. Selman's, your family-owned jewelry store since 1945, 1311 Delaware Avenue, Macomb.
North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on SuperTalk, Mississippi, Pike County, 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of Macomb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at supertalkpikecounty.com and through your Alexa devices.
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
That'll do it.
Closing time.
Want to remind you, keep an eye out
Turn all of the lights
for Lottie
on
Elaine
forever
Myers, 73 years old, last seen Monday afternoon on foot
Closing
after
time.
abandoning her Jeep on Willis Cotton Road.
So finish your whiskey or beer.
She does, according to her daughter-in-law, suffer from Alzheimer's. We got to find Lottie. Keep your eyes open. And we will keep you updated on that situation. I want you to have a wonderful day, you trashy little thing, you heap of garbage. Well, it's not me. The president called you that. Don't look at me. I like you. We'll do this again tomorrow morning for North Pike Thursday, starting at 9:06 on SuperTalk, Mississippi, Pike County, 93.5. My friend, I'll see you then.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.